In theaters now from Yash Raj Films is the Indian action spectacular BADE MIYAN CHOTE MIYAN. Sorry if I mispronounced that, which is actually the title of an older film too, but we'll get to that. This directed by Abbas, Zafar, with Akshay, Kumar, Tiger Shroff, Manushi, Chhillar, sorry if I mispronounced any of these names, Alaya F, Prithviraj, Sukumaran, and Ronit. And some of those, if you're a fan like I am of Indian films, are pretty familiar faces. This was totally crazy. In a good way. This was totally nuts. I had seen the trailer for this, and it's very rare that where I go to the AMC that's near me to see Indian films, and they'll always run one or two trailers, but they don't always get the movies that they play the trailers for. So this is one of the rare occasions where I saw a trailer for a movie, and I said, oh, that looks great. I hope I get to see that, and I got to see that. So I just saw this the other day, as I said, in theaters from Yash Raj Films. Basically, the title was taken from a 1998 action comedy that the two characters in this film are watching, and they look at it, they're about to go, I'll get back and tell you what the story is actually about. The story here is Indian military convoy doing their thing somewhere in the mountains, attacked by a terrorist group led by this weird guy clad in all tight black leather and a long black leather coat and some kind of metal Destro G.I. Joe looking mask. And he says, I'm taking the package. They're transporting the package, this very important thing to India's military security, national security. The bad guy, terrorist guy, who also has thugs with him who also have metal masks on. I'm taking this, and this is going to help me rewrite India's past, present, and future. So then the film goes on to a military leader calling back our two heroes who had been military superstars in the past, army superstars, who did something bad and got X'd out and disgraced, and they're not in the military anymore. They get called back into action because they're the only two people, get me the best, they're the only two people who can fix this problem and try to stop this crazy terrorist who's going to do something very bad. First of all, we have to figure out what they're going to do, but also he's going to do something very, very bad. And they're picking their code names for the mission, and they refer back to this movie that is the same title as the movie that we're watching. They pick their code names as the two characters from that film. And I did a little research, and the film that this film takes its title from is the basic plot of the film. I don't want to give anything away. The basic plot of that film comes into play with this film. Let's just say that. So I thought that was really actually kind of clever and funny, because it's like, here we go. It's like a new action movie calling itself Tango and Cash and codenaming the two action heroes Tango and Cash because they like the movie Tango and Cash. It's exactly like that. And in fact, this movie feels a lot like Tango and Cash. So if you're an American or an international viewer and you know that Kurt Russell, Sylvester Stallone film Tango and Cash and like it, this film has that vibe. It's a lot of fun. I did not expect all the comedy that's in this. It's very light in tone, a lot of wisecracks, pretty funny. It gets very, very serious at times. Like any great Indian film, I don't know if I would call this movie great, but like any good Indian film, it has drama, romance, action, comedy, musical numbers, martial arts, explosions, all that. It's got it all in spades. So this is a film that's American audiences, Western, let's say, Eastern, Western in relation to India, American English-speaking audiences, let's say, have a hard time sometimes with Indian films because there are musical numbers in them. It'll be a straight drama, it'll be an action movie, it'll be a horror film, and suddenly everybody's singing and dancing. Or more often than not, I'm seeing now a lot of these films tend to have a musical montage. So there'll be, sequences that keep the story going with a song over it or something like that. So this one has the on-camera action, the on-camera musical sequences, which are fabulous, and they're so well staged. It's like the old MGM musicals have been kept alive. So many genres I feel like India has taken, when they've been discarded by other film communities, and India has taken them on to their own and made them, if not greater than they originally were, they're continuing the proud tradition, like martial arts. The action in Indian films often is as good as the action you used to see in Hong Kong movies long ago, but they're not really doing it that way in Hong Kong anymore. The musical numbers are like lavish old MGM musicals, which nobody here is really doing anymore. So the film opens and you see a flashback. This movie goes back and forth in time a lot. You see a flashback to our two heroes in their glory days, and they pull off a big mission and they blow things up and they kill a whole lot of people, and titles, and then suddenly they're singing and dancing. They're singing and dancing on some old ruins with a bunch of people like they're in a boy band or something. And I'm just like, I love this stuff. It shows me things I've never seen before, and it was just wonderful. So the masked villain he feels like he's out of he feels like Doctor Doom from Fantastic Four in the Marvel universe, or he feels like Destro from G.I. Joe. And I'm just like, I didn't know which way this film was going to go because I didn't remember the trailer. Maybe they showed the guy with the mask in the trailer, but I didn't remember it looking like it was going to be this fantastical. This really is kind of like a G.I. Joe movie. And in fact, one of the characters refers to the younger of our two heroes. Our two heroes are mustached, slightly older, beefy guy, serious, younger, quirky, muscly, tousled hair, maverick guy. And there's a woman in this film who keeps referring to him as G.I. Joe throughout. And it's apt because this film feels like a G.I. Joe movie in how it's like, it mixes a twinge of like the fantastic or sci-fi, more than a twinge, honestly, of sci-fi into this action drama that has elements of, Indian national pride and a little bit of history and a little bit of world history and geopolitical stuff mixed in with the ridiculous levels this film goes to. I don't want to say anything because it was such a surprise when I was watching it where I'm like, oh, this film is going there now. There's a lot of English in this film, just so you know. Some people from this country, they don't like a lot of subtitles. They don't want movies dubbed, and they don't want to read subtitles. So they just basically only want to watch American movies, apparently. So there's a lot of English spoken. As in the Indian culture, a lot of films you'll see from India where Indian people on camera will say a few words in English and then back to their own language, or they'll say, a couple lines of dialogue and then hop back into their language. So that's always odd for me to see that kind of a mix of languages, but there are good stretches here where you can give your eyes a break and just listen to the English if you're only speak English like me. I've got things in my notes that I don't want to say because it gives away things. Mostly practical effects as far as I can see for stunt work. So there's a lot of cars flying through the air, flipping through the air, dirt bikes, explosions, fire, pyrotechnics. It doesn't feel like it's all fake CGI like American movies tend to do, which makes it feel more exciting and real to me. There's one totally over-the-top action sequence where it's like let's say it's a van. It's a van driving, and there is one of our heroes is fighting a bad guy in the back of the van. One of our heroes is fighting a bad guy while driving the van in the cab of the van, and one of our heroes is standing on top of the van fighting a bad guy. This is like Van Helsing level, over-the-top compound stunt work and insanity. In addition to our two leads, we have a young female Indian agent who's along for the ride and helps guide them and try to do things. So it's like a team film. And we have a younger Indian lady genius scientist who's there to help try to crack the code on the super weapon or whatever it is to get in, or try to crack the code in the vault to get to the super weapon and aid them. She's sort of like their Q, and aid them with additional gadgets and things like that. Everybody in the movie is a heck of a lot of fun. It's very funny. Everybody's very likable. It takes place in India and London, so you get a lot of it set in England, and some of the action sequences set in England, which is interesting. The musical numbers, they're just wonderful. You have that one in the film. You have two in the film. One featuring, I'm not going to say, featuring characters. I really don't want to give anything away because there are surprises in this film. Two musical numbers, people singing and dancing on camera within the context of the film, and then the credits roll, and you get two more. One of which is like it looks like you're watching American TV. They squash the credits to be just the lower third of the screen and go by real fast while the musical number, or basically music video, is playing out across the top. What's also interesting in these musical numbers, during the context of the film, I don't think we see the female cast members performing in any of the musical numbers. And the versatility of Indian actors is astounding to me. They can do comedy, they can do action, they can do drama, and they can sing and dance. So you get that last section of the film, of the credits, where you're seeing the credits roll by and the various cast members in looking very different, much more glamorous. The female characters, the actors looking much more glamorous than they did in the course of the film itself, and they can sing and dance as good as anybody else. And I'm just like, of course they can. It feels like a modern, well-funded canon film. It feels like the kind of movie, at least plot-wise, that like Albert Pune would have made and wished he had the production quality that this film has. So if you like old Van Damme movies or Albert Pune films or old Cannon films or Tango and Cash, I would recommend this film because it's a lot of fun. It's this like comedy, action, sci-fi musical with like real world dramatics involved in it, and it's just wonderful and ridiculous. And I don't mean that in a bad way. So in theaters now, I'm going to try to read this once again accurately because I mean no disrespect to anybody involved. BADE MIYAN CHOTE MIYAN, or BADE MIYAN CHOTE MIYAN. Words to that effect. It's in theaters now. Try to catch it if you can.